Avatar is out again. Are you aware of that?
I heard.
I realized in retrospect, I've seen Avatar, but I remember nothing at all about it because it came out in December of 2009, like 6 weeks after I had had my child. And so I was like in the bleariest of weeds, like trying to make sense of this 3-hour long epic, this blue epic.
I went to a press screening at a movie theater and found it very all-encompassing and enveloping. And then a couple of years ago, I think for like the 10th anniversary or something, we watched it for Max Film, and I watched it on Netflix. And it was like, oh, yeah, this is really not much of a movie. But boy, the experience of the theater is great. So I'm thrilled that I'm going to go see it on Monday before we record again. And I want to have that experience again.
But we're going to go see it in 4K on the weekend, and then you and I will have a review, whatever you want to call it. We're going to revisit Avatar on Tuesday of next week. And then you and I saw Bros last night, which was so fun. And we're going to review that next Friday.
For sure. Can't wait.
Yeah, that was a blast. We have trailers, of course, which you have not watched.
I have. I've been going to a lot of movies lately, and I've been subjected to a few. So what do you got?
I don't think you've seen the trailer for the new M. Night Shyamalan movie.
I have not.
Knock at the Cabin.
4 of us have a very important job to do. In fact, it might be the most important job in the history of the world.
And something about the apocalypse. Anyway, it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Woohoo.
There's a cabin. You already know it's going to be bad news.
Yes. And then there's the new Inarritu movie, Bardo, which got like wildly varying reviews out of Venice?
Venice and Toronto, both, yeah. Yeah, Carlos Aguilar, who reviewed it for me for The Wrap, loved it and really, I thought, went in deep about it and talked about how he related to it as somebody who lives in the U.S. as a dreamer, because so much of the movie is about Inarritu's sort of cross-border identities as a Mexican and as somebody who works a lot in the United States. But yeah, a lot of other critics did not care for it, and he's now chopped like 22 minutes out of it.
How long was it?
It was like 3-ish hours,
oh, God.
But it's now 22 minutes shorter. So I don't know how that version is going to play, but it's going to get some theatrical and then going to Netflix.
He's not known for restraint, not unlike James Cameron. Rhea Seehorn teaming up with Vince Gilligan again for a new series for Apple TV Plus. And we don't know anything about that. But of course, she starred in Better Call Saul, got nominated for an Emmy. Everyone thought she should have won this past year. So good things.
She's got one more shot for that one. So I'm hoping next year is going to be her year. Yeah, actually, Ben and I interviewed her on What the Flick back in the day. So big fan of hers, obviously big fan of his. It's already gotten a 2-season pickup. So this is exciting.
That is. Speaking of awards, shocking to everyone, RRR is not India's selection for their foreign language entry at the Oscars, but they're going to do a full-on Best Picture campaign and across categories. So we've not heard the last of RRR.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, and this has come up before with India a couple years ago. People thought The Lunchbox would have been a shoe-in for them for the Oscars, and they picked another film instead. But like they're not getting chosen as your country's entry is not the end of the road necessarily. Last year, Almodovar's Parallel Mothers, not Spain's selection for Best Foreign Film, but did score a Best Actress and a Best Score nomination. So, I would love to see some action for RRR and like certainly the tech categories, Best Song for Natu Natu, I look forward to that campaign.
And then SS Rajamouli has just signed a big deal with CAA.
Yes.
So we'll be seeing more stuff from him, hopefully in the United States and around the world very soon.
I have to, part of me is like, I hope they get him really good deals and still let him work in India, just because I think coming to America has been the downfall of many an international auteur. If he wants to come work for studios, if that's a thing that drives him, that he's excited about, and he can get his way to do the way he wants to do it, sure, fine. But part of me is just like, get paid better, but stay home and do your thing where you are established and get to do things the way you want to do them.
I just hope this gets more eyeballs on his work and on his vision and his creativity. Like that would be cool if they can help facilitate that for him.
Absolutely.
Stay in awards territory, your favorite place to be. We learned this week that Michelle Williams will campaign in Best Actress for The Fabelmans, not supporting, where I guess she would have just dominated.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen the film yet, so we don't really know what her role is about, but this is such a competitive year for lead actress. This seems kind of nuts because like you've got Michelle Yeoh, you've got Cate Blanchett, you've got like, of course they all just flew out of my head,
Right.
but like this is when I think about the big performances this year, they're almost all female leads. So it's going to be a very interesting battle for those 5 slots.
Margot Robbie, we've seen a lot of photos of her in her day-glow rollerblading getup shooting Barbie out here at the beach here in Venice. Apparently she was like mortified and appalled that those pictures got out. She was on Jimmy Fallon this past week, I guess promoting Amsterdam, which we'll talk about in a couple of weeks. And she was saying that when she saw those pictures come out, she was like mortified, but she looks so cute. She and Ryan Gosling look so super cute in their little outfits.
Yeah, there's a very specific context for those photos and that look, and I can imagine where like if you're taking a risk on this movie that seems like it could be just bananas, you maybe want to control when people see things and how they see them. But yeah, I don't think there's anything in those pictures that make you think, ew, no, like
I think quite the opposite. If anything, it's like, ooh, I want to see that now.
Yeah, like unless you're like determined not to be on board for this, I think, and if that's the case, there's no winning you. So what the heck? Do
you see what Criterion Channel's doing in October?
80s horror, yes.
It's going to be so cool, like 30 nights of 80s horror, and it's stuff like everything from cat people to Scanners to Inferno to The Hunger. Like it's a really cool cross section of stuff.
Near Dark, which has been really hard to get on physical media and streaming, I think. It kind of comes and goes in and out of availability. Catherine Bigelow's trailer trash, literal vampire masterpiece. Yeah, so if you've never seen Near Dark, that's like top of the list one that I recommend. But yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff coming on that. And by the way, quick plug, Queer for Fear drops on Shudder next Friday. So check me out on that, please.
What is Queer for Fear?
It is a multi-part documentary series about it's a horror history of horror through an LGBTQ lens.
Ah, very cool. And then while we are in the stuff that you like, let's talk about the big Hallmark announcement that came out yesterday.
Yes, this is for people who are nuts about these movies. This was the big day we wait for all like late summer and early fall long. They are doing 40 movies this Christmas, not counting the 3 they premiered in July. So it's staggering. We've been seeing a lot more push for diversity this year. There's a Hanukkah movie. There's their first Kwanzaa movie, several movies with POC leads, 2 films about Chinese American families and relationships, and Hallmark's first central LGBTQ love story, the Holiday Sitter, I believe it's called, starring Jonathan Bennett. That is the first time that the main like romantic couple in a film is 2 dudes.
And then The Vow. We loved The Vow, right? That was important to us. And we're going to get more Vow. If you want more midnight volleyball with Vanguard, we've got it for you. Although I think this next season of the series about NXIVM, the sex cult NXIVM, which begins October 17th on HBO. I think it's more about the trial, and it's about Nancy, who is his right-hand woman.
Yeah, and apparently there's a lot of interviews with Keith and with Nancy, which people are already sort of like, why are we talking to the perpetrators here? And like, shouldn't this, I don't know, like Linda Holmes raised an interesting point about how with the first one, there were sometimes you have to wonder, like some of the people they were talking to as victims were also kind of other people's perpetrators. So, I think there are various angles for this. Obviously, the India Oxenberg documentary that she did for Stars or whatever has a very different take on sort of who some of the more culpable parties are. But, generally speaking, yes, the whole thing was kind of a nightmare. And we took the deep dive on NXIVM, so we got to keep going now, I guess, with part 2.
Right. 6 more episodes beginning October 17th. And if you found us today for this news segment or anything else that we have on the channel, it's because of Canva. Canva is how I design our thumbnails and our banner and our end card. And they've been super helpful. And they're really fun, actually. Like I had no idea what I was doing and just went in and played. And like, ooh, there's so many little fonts and graphics and things, but you don't have to have a YouTube channel to enjoy it. If you've got an invitation you need to put out, if you have a kid's school project and you are not craftsy like me, it's really easy to use. It's really fun. We've got a link down below to go find the folks at Canva. They have a free version. Then they have a version where you get some extra goodies if you sign up for it. So Canva,